This is the filthiest tea.
Yeah, this is strong but beautiful.
There's something about sitting here and you're fucking out of Sam Teas.
So where's that? So I remember last time we'd reached the monumental cliffhanger of your.
Are we carrying on Slayer? Or are we doing
for a moment, we're going to just say that's where we're at. The monumental Slayer reveal that you've got something worse than Undisputed Age.
Yeah, that was it. We got to the point.
Yeah.
We were going to basically discuss Undisputed on bated breath though, because you had something below it. Yeah,
I do.
And we kind of tweaked what it was going to be, and it was upsetting for Chris more so.
Yes.
Still for me a little bit upsetting because I think Undisputed is their worst effort.
Well,
but
it's not a record.
But
so to speak.
Undisputed is a record.
You know what I mean? All the covers have been played straight. We've discussed this in the last episode. All the covers were straight, no medleys. If it was just covers and no hashed up tracks, and it didn't have the minor threat change to the lyrics, I might have seen it a lot more differently. It's just a fun pet project.
Minor threat thing's quite funny because it's topical. Now, you laughed because I did my subscription recently, and out of all the magazines as a nearly 40-year-old man, I did a Metal Hammer subscription. Now, Kerry King wipes his hands clean in that article of any involvement in that change of lyrics. Now, he didn't know until Tom Araya said it on the spot, and he thought to himself, oh, that's a bit dangerous using those sort of words. And I was thinking to myself, this is an interview with Kerry, so Tom can't dispute whether that's true or not.
Yeah.
But he was so quick to wipe his hands
because he knows that Tom Araya will never hasn't even done an interview, has he? Since
nothing. Retired as a family man. He laughed it off and just said,
I love that.
So that makes it even worse for me that he's not even taking ownership at all of the guilt. You know, he could have said to Tom, "Oh, hold on, dude, why don't you record the original lyric?"
Yeah.
But he's like, no, Tom just sung it like that, and that's the way it went. It's like, so Ruben wouldn't rewind the tape for you for a couple of minutes. Anyway, you've got an album that's worse than that. But there's a few topical things that have happened, aren't there? Yeah. One of them being that Pantera's 2022 lineup with Benante and Zakk Wylde have performed a number of shows. Starting in Mexico.
It was. Yeah.
Few shows. Last one was in contention. The last couple of shows because obviously Rex got COVID.
Yep. And so suddenly it was like it's basically the Phil Anselmo solo power.
Which is always a worry, isn't it?
Which it was Chris's main concern. It was Black Sabbath without Bill Ward all over again.
I was waiting for the post that basically said because of the COVID he can't complete the rest of this part.
Yeah, I thought that.
But they were very quick to put him straight back on all the social media saying, yeah, I'm getting back to it now. He's deputised me, Max, I'll be at the next show. So they're still keeping it legit.
That's cool.
Good. Yeah.
Set list's rather safe, isn't it? But that's better than nothing in my book.
Oh no, it's still a great set list. It's just some of us were hoping for the odd deep cut, but as you said, they'll probably modify it during the next few months they're on tour, and they'll add a few different bits to it, I think, because they get more comfy with things.
And the upsetting thing was that the set list that went out on setlist.com for a few days had Drag the Waters on it. Then it got removed. It's not been played. So there's no track from Southern Trendkill at all now in the set list. Not one.
That's rough.
Well,
come on, do one, boys. Suicide Note Part 2.
They do need to. There's no question about that. It should be well represented. I mean, Reinventing the Steel has got 3 or 4 songs you'd want to see them play, even though by far not a consistent album to the other 4. However,
pretty good album.
You still want to get those 3 or 4 odd tracks live, but you should have an equal number from Reinventing.
I wouldn't be surprised if
Southern Trendkill.
I wouldn't be surprised if they played now for a good couple of years. Shows, do you know what I mean? I think it'll be.
Zakk can do it, but Charlie will have the commitment to the other 4 in Anthrax to balance.
Will he?
Yes.
Bum it off.
They seem quite supportive of him doing it, though.
They are at the moment, but if it starts
to get silly,
it's suddenly going to be.
Someone else in is fine.
Yeah, but we know that Phil can't do 100 shows a year.
No.
And he's holding it together, and he sounds fucking solid. Compared to where he sounded, say, 3 years ago when it was a little bit ropey, and then he kind of come back and he did those down things like the viral shows that were really good.
They were.
So he had the comfort of being in Nosferatu's lair or whatever to record and play it, and it's one show viral live and then that was it. But this, he's getting the succession in
And
now.
I think so far it all seems very, very credible. It seems great. We're just waiting on them tickets.
We are.
What else is going on?
And we've been discussing potentially getting tickets for Bloodstock open air.
Yeah.
Because they've got Tom G. Warriors Triptychon performing a Celtic Frost set, haven't they?
Yeah. So we haven't seen anything ever, any of us Frost related, have we?
No.
So we went to your stag do. What year was that?
2008.
Roadburn.
2008 Roadburn Festival for your staggers.
They were
There was
headlining Saturday.
playing. And was that when they called it a day?
About 2 months before Martin Ain and Warrior had another falling out.
Sorry.
And they laughed it off. And Frost as a band never came back
Never.
together again. Now,
So ever since that
when Martin Ain
disappointment-
passed away, they were back on good friendly terms again. So it wasn't like it was some terrible story where they fell out after Monotheist and they never spoke again. But with Martin Ain passed away, there's no way he would ever do it unless it was in the comfort of his current band, which is Triptychon.
Yeah.
Hellhammer was different because it's not got quite the same attachment, and you can do it as Triumph of Death with 2 other people, or 3 in this case, a 4-piece, because although it was like Tom Warrior and Steve Warrior and Bruce Day, Martin Ain then comes in for a little bit, and there's a lot of transitions. You can get away with Hellhammer being played by Warrior and a couple of friends, but I think to do the Frost, that's why he wants it in the comfort of those musicians he's maximum comfortable with, which is Triptychon. You don't know whether there could still be a possible wee surprise, like Reed St. Mark might come out for Into the Grips of Rays.
Oh my God, just because
or maybe Kurt Victor Bryant comes out and they just go one step further and do like Third from the Stun or Phallic Tantrum off of Vanity Nemesis.
Oh, one of my faves.
But he won't. He'll stick to the... Because obviously now they're marketed pretty much as only going up to Into the Pandemonium and 2 singles after, which is what that box says. And a lot of any reissues to do with Frost now stop at that, but they'll do Vanity Nemesis as a fair tip to Martin Ain. But
this is deep, by the way, because we are Celtic Frost.
They ain't going to play past Into the Pandemonium at all.
But I mean, I'd love it if they did a couple from Vanity, but they're not going to. So anyway,
I can just see him at the front though, at some point going, "A cherry orchard," and Warrior just like, "I'm stopping the show." That he said those words, he made me relive it again.
Will he do Mexican radio?
Oh,
cover, innit? So it's possible.
But it's still, I'm on Mexican
radio.
So
what a band!
So they've got that set, haven't they, at Bloodstock on the Saturday. Now the Friday's relatively safe with stuff like Kill Switch and stuff. But the Saturday's obviously got Crowbar, and then you've got Celtic Frost set, and then you've got Meshuggah, who's one of my faves.
We don't mind a bit of that to listen to.
And then Sunday, stacked in it. Sunday, headlined by Megadeth.
Halloween, I want to
Halloween.
Sepultura, Decapitated, Ugly Kid Joe, and Biohazard on the second stage.
Yeah, Biohazard.
We'll see how it pans out.
So we're looking at it as a possibility.
Halloween and Biohazard on the same day for me.
Yeah.
And Ugly Kid Joe.
It's huge. It's a hell of a sell. Decapitated I love, but it's never going to be the original vocalist or whatever.
And drummer.
Same with Sepultura to a degree.
I would like to see.
But they have such a strong catalogue, a fairly strong catalogue post-Max, that they'll play stuff of the new album which I like, and then they will touch bits off that, but they will play some old bangers.
Oh, they will?
Oh, I recently obviously acquired Against on vinyl, didn't I? I'd never listened to any Derek Green other than...
So that is the first one, isn't it? It's got Choke on it, and it's
It's a great partner to Roots.
It's fine.
Because it follows Roots.
100%.
Brilliant album.
So
anyway,
Sepultura.
100%.
Sepultura's Quadra, though, that might have been my album of that year, actually.
Come back out, yeah. I've done some great records.
We've got loads to catch up on. So, I mean, this just a bit of an insight. We actually haven't planned this at all, have we?
No, we haven't.
So I don't know whether we're going down Slayer Road. We've done an end of year list, each of us as well.
We were going to have a little discussion about our end of year list because there's some overlaps and stuff. So
Yeah,
it doesn't
what do you want to do?
And then we'll just do a bit of Slayer later. We'll re-pick it up and start looking for a few more albums.
Only because it is early January, so if we do end of year
We're just going to discuss
later on in the year,
Yeah.
later on in a couple of months,
That's
it's not
fine.
going to make as much sense, is it?
I wasn't going to give it away, but I was certainly just going to discuss a few records on it. It doesn't say what ranking or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's worth having a little look at.
Well, I've always
it
said,
is-
obviously, that you don't really know until a few months after the end of the previous year what your top 10 is. Because
I like
there will
that.
be stuff that you still hear
It's
that
just
is
still-
from last year.
Yeah.
So I don't. We've kind of tentatively committed, haven't we? Where we've kind of because in a rare occurrence, you've got a list of 10,
I've got a massive list.
and Chris has plucked together a list of 10 because you weren't.
I wasn't as. I think the problem is there was a lot of good releases this year, but when I put it all together, there were 5 I had trouble tearing off the list. But outside of that, I was a little bit less. I didn't hit 20 like you, or top 30 like you.
Fucking, yeah,
It's
32.
quite a year for me last
32.
year.
Love that.
But you know, looking at
Well,
what,
I'm happy to do whatever. If you want to do Slayer, we'll do Slayer. Or if you want to mention a few end of years.
I'm happy to run through just the end of year. We
I
don't
think
have
it's
to talk
topical,
about
isn't
the
it?
albums.
No.
We can mention what albums ranked in our top 10.
There'll be a few overlaps.
And yeah, there are a few overlaps. I don't even know where my phone is.
So
with my
but
list.
I like what you said about, because if I'm being a little slag now, a little social media slag, I see all these fucking end of year lists, and I always like read these things. Oh, this is my album of the year, and it's like March, and I'm like, you know me, like I won't get into an album till about an 8th listen through.
No.
So I like to sit on things.
Mm.
So I just like what you said about
Taking
really
a bit more time
an
and
end of
letting
year
it
list should
overlap.
be done probably March the next year.
which
Because you're
is-
still so
which is-
so your number one. Sorry,
no, yeah.
what I believe was
My
your
number one is one of the last releases of
which,
the-
which, which gives me even more of a boner for why you like it so much.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I think we all agreed on an album
get
this
me-
year.
Go on,
that
what have we agreed
all got
on?
in our 10s, a couple higher than others, but it got into the 10s, which
Yeah.
was the Elder record.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Innate
so where
Passage.
did you rank Elder? What's it called?
Innate Passage.
Innate Passage.
Elder, Innate Passage. You,
I
where
had a
did you-
number 8.
Number 8. I've even got a little tab now.
A little tab now.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Mate,
Hated.
I haven't got tabs.
beautiful.
I'm
One
going to
note.
change my notes
One
completely.
note. So 5 I had Elder.
Got it in at 5.
Yeah, top
Which,
5.
bearing in mind, for an album that came out at the end of November,
Yeah,
to get in all of our top
Yeah.
10s.
yeah.
But as you listened to it, you were just swallowed into it. And that word is really specific for me. It was like when I was listening to it, it was like you were swallowed into it.
Elder delivered me a journey.
Yeah,
Like
it's so
the-
massive.
I loved so much classic rock last year. I loved so much like metal revival bands that I liked that have done a good album like 10 years after their last
Yeah.
good one. But Elder were the one that gave me, as I said to you, those King Crimson feels. And those harking back to the Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here style vocals.
6 songs,
But the
60 minutes.
guitar playing, like you might wait 7 minutes in a tune for like it to kind of like blend through, but you get this crazy scale of guitar
Yeah.
that washes over it. That
Spacious.
sounds like I say, like you've got some King Crimson like blood just being
Yeah.
pumped through
And the
their
Floyd
veins.
reference as well in terms of the scale of it and the feeling of like immersiveness. It is
Love
an
it.
amazing record. I'd say
Love
6
it.
tracks, 58 minutes. There's no effing about. Everything's got length to breathe.
So when I listen to it, because I've absolutely bummed the last couple of Elder
Yeah,
records.
you've been really
I haven't been a big time fan, but I've only got into them probably the last sort of 18 months. So although I've always loved those 2 records, I didn't know the first.
They're one of those
records
bands
at the
where
time.
they're one of those bands where, unlike
Where's
Paul
my-
Bearer, where I start at the beginning with Sorrow and Extinction, with Elder I start from Floating.
Yeah.
Because prior to
See, I
that,
don't
I
even
think
go that far.
don't you?
I love that, but
But
is
yeah,
it that
that's
Reflections record?
Yeah.
That's the one that
Flowing Reflections or
Oh,
whatever.
that's the one I got into.
That's it for me. That's where they start.
Totally.
Um,
And then the one after that was like probably with Hallas's record that year, my record of the year.
Yeah.
But I think that was 2020, and I was a bit worried because I listened to this one first time through. I was like, okay, because those two records are so strong, aren't they? And I was like, oh, I'm a bit worried that like I don't like this as much as what's come the last couple of records. Because I wanted it to be a nudge on from their last record, which is perfect for me. And I thought, well, is that a bit too much to ask of any band? To nudge on from what, like that last Elder record, I can't remember what it's called. But
I can't remember now.
it's such a hell of a record. But 3 or 4 or 5 listens in to the newie, and I'm like, that is on par. That's on par.
It's the journey.
It's on par, yeah.
I would say that those the previous
Omens.
two, the previous two
What
you
a
can
record
dip
that is.
into and you could listen to a track or something. The new album has to be listened to together in its entirety.
Yes.
It has to. You have to do the 5 tracks or whatever.
Yeah.
Straight
It's a
away.
trip. It's a massive trip. You got to put the hour in. Can't dive in and out.
And there's a couple of bits on that record, and they come few and far between, but there's 2 or 3 notable riffs for me on that record that's like the best thing they've ever done. But that's why I was a bit worried about. I think this is why I had an iffy first listen, because you have to listen to start to finish for an hour, which is a bit of a task sometimes.
You can't come back
you have
to
to
it.
float through, and then I think there's one riff that's near the penultimate or even last song, and I'll wait for that whole. But when it gets to that riff, I'm like,
there it is.
That's the best thing
That's
they've
the
ever
best
done.
thing you've ever done, yeah.
And because of that, there's a couple of moments on that record for me like that, and I can listen to the build-ups and the more, because it is a bit more buildy and floaty than the last couple of records, which have been a bit more. They've still got that element. I'm waffling, but they've got. It's a bit more riff-based.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a bit more on the progressive and the real build-ups and the.
There's a lot of
There's still
restraint.
guitar work galore, but
there's a lot of restraint
there's
now
payoffs,
for them.
do you know what I
They
mean?
know the payoff's coming,
Yeah.
but they're not going to rush to it.
No.
And
It's not like 3
for
payoffs
me,
a
that's
song.
yeah.
It's like
There's a lot of
2 out.
dynamics and a lot of build.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that it got to number 5 for you as well, because it's up against a lot of other records that you've enjoyed
Big
this
time.
year.
Yeah. It's great.
For me, obviously, it came in number 1.
Favourite record
Absolutely
of the year.
loved it.
Yeah.
And until November, number 1 was Meshuggah
Yeah.
from the entire year. Pretty much the entire 2022 was Meshuggah Immutable, number 1. Nothing will touch it.
Nice.
And when Elder come in, which is the polar opposite of the insanity of the Meshuggah record,
Yeah.
which is relentless, and it's possibly one of their longest records today. And yeah, Elder just come
and
in.
it only being a month long in your listening.
In my listening of
it. Love
and
that.
it just pushed it down, and then Elder sits there, and it's my favourite one of the year. And
I think another
I love
album we
it.
all agreed on that I think cracked the 10s for all of us was Ghost.
yes,
No,
for me and you, I don't know if it made it.
No,
can't
I
remember.
didn't.
But you
It
do
didn't.
love it though.
I
Impera.
love the first half of it.
Up to Watching the Sky.
Yes, up to and including.
Yeah, that first side, perfect.
and-
Perfect.
Do you know what? I'll be brutally honest. I couldn't think about what the last couple of songs sound like, because the couple leading up to the end of the album are just not for me. And I don't know what it is yet.
It's
But
just not
I
as
will
good.
persist.
It's just not as good as Meliora or Prequel.
There's no skips on those records.
There's none. Love them. And I do love Impera, and I think it came in about 4th for me in the end.
Wow, that's
think-
Second for me.
wow.
second for you.
Which is
Came in
incredible.
4th for me.
It galloped it out of nowhere towards the back end. I suddenly realised I had not stopped listening to it.
Wow.
It just kept going on, and I was like, well, hang on a minute.
There is some perfect moments. Like
First
perfect.
side, Up to Watcher in the Sky,
That's
that
what I
entire
mean.
first run
Yeah.
is absolutely banging. It's perfection. It's
Yeah.
like pomp rock.
Yeah.
Jim Steinman
Proper
over the top.
Scorpions.
It's perfection.
It's got an injection in there of Scorpions. I was so
It is
pleased.
AOR, like.
No, I agree with you.
Perfect.
The breaks it on with the little first instrumental on side 2 and
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
The break hits for me.
See, I
when
can
it
handle
comes
the
back to the
instrumental
darkness
bits.
in the heart of my love, that is just
Oh
up
my
there.
God.
Balladry
There's a
perfection
darkness
in the heart of my love.
Right.
Runs cold. It's
I
just amazing.
will persist.
But the payout of the album again is just not quite as strong as the beginning. I find it imbalanced.
Yeah.
But it's a great listen to from start to finish. It's not over long. But you do just get a smile on your face.
You
Love
do.
it.
And that's a funny one because when it came out, this is my favourite thing of the year, okay?
Yeah.
Before that came out, if you ask Chris what one of his most loathed acts was,
God, I
it
hate
was
it.
Ghost.
Didn't get it.
Ghost, Slipknot, Hatebreed. Doesn't get Marilyn
You don't like the
Manson
Breed?
doesn't get it.
No, it's what he's going to get to. I had an issue with Jasta always coming across as the biggest knobhead on the planet. And from that
Which
point...
he is.
They were an album or 2 in when he broke on MTV. Was it? It was then him on MTV, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I hate your guts. You just, oh my God, you're everything I can't stand. And I don't understand why, but you're just one of them for me. So by the time it was probably
This is for the kids.
second Hatebreed album's about out at that
Nothing to
point,
live
and I'm
for.
like, well, I'm not going to dive into them because this guy's a bell. And it wasn't until
Yeah, I know.
this year, as you're about to say.
So, of course, if up until the point that Ghost's new album come out, me and you were both very excited.
Yeah.
Chris was like, I don't get the
No.
fad, I don't get why
Don't wanna
people
hear
are
about
into
it,
it.
don't wanna see
What
it.
was it? What had I heard?
You had heard
That
Mary
one-off
on
single.
a Cross, which
That
is
one-off
just
single.
the 7-inch track
Yeah.
that they did, Mary on a Cross, which is
That's all I'd heard.
awful.
And I'd heard Opus, but it was so long ago, I just switched off from it.
Yeah.
Opus was in my iTunes, but
Mary on a Cross, he says the line in the chorus, I want to tickle you internally, and it makes me cringe.
and the song is weak as
it's
fuck
weak
as
as
well.
fuck. Anyway,
So I was like,
Yeah.
it
Ghost,
doesn't affect me
comedy
and
band.
Harvey's love
Yeah,
of them at
comedy
this
band.
point.
Not interested, have
And then you heard
And
Imperial.
we kind of were quite forceful with it, weren't
I?
we?
You've got to listen to it, Lambert. You've got to give it a go. I mean, you at this point, it probably at that point, it was biting at Meshuggah's ankles because initially you were all over it.
Blew my mind.
You were all over it. So I went for it, and that was it. I was completely
I think
transfixed. The
'cause
iTunes just got filled. Back catalogue, download.
Yeah.
Oh, Opus, of course, the connection and so I went for it. Just loved
Swear
it.
And I think
hammer
because
and
we
you're
know
like,
each
yeah,
other's little like quirky tastes as well, it's why we were so forceful. Because we're just like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it.
We know the stuff that turns you on. You've just got to forget all the bollocks
Yeah.
and just listen to the
And I
songs.
did, yeah, it was there. And I crushed that back catalogue in
Yeah.
days. Crushed it.
And this was hilarious because, like any Ghost album, I fall in love with it pretty immediately. And I was
'Cause it's
sending
so
you
wicked.
guys voice messages. This one sounds like
Yeah.
fucking Coheed. I'm into this.
Yeah.
I'm into that. This
You were
is
gushing.
Scorpions.
You were proper losing it.
2 weeks later, I was like, I'm not
You're
sure
almost
if
like,
I'm
this is
feeling
dog-
it.
this is
It's
dog shit.
I'm not sure if I'm feeling it,
Typical
boy.
Smiths.
Chris is like, I'm loving it. The
Yeah.
boys are singing it in the car
Yeah.
with me. You know,
Oh,
they're
they're in the
asking,
sky all the time.
they're asking me to play
Love
the
that.
tracks.
Your boys are going to carry on the PDE.
Honestly.
And then I
not,
did.
Not last weekend. Dave, you got that song. Which one? What about the sky? What Ghost? Yeah, that one. Watch in the sky straight away.
Yeah.
Such a light. Barney's just like loving the Ghost.
What's the other one they like on Side A as well?
Oh, they love
It's
oh,
fucking hell, they love it.
the Spillways.
Spillways, yeah.
The
Spillways.
They love it. Yeah.
So-
That whole first side they will listen to without making a noise.
Love that.
And I have to skip because he says motherfucker in that.
Ah,
He's like to
does
start
he?
skipping.
But anyway,
Yeah, anyway, get back to you were gushing.
I then went, right, okay, I'm not feeling Ghost right now. We have regularly discussed how your current music taste can affect your ability to enjoy a record.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yes.
you going for a black
Yes.
metal phase and us
Yes.
telling you to listen to Skid Row, and you're like, boys,
Right.
I'm not in Skid
And
Row
that's the
right
trouble.
now.
And we'll go into that because that's a
And-
very interesting point.
And I put my own thing on the Ghost where I was like, okay, I'm going to put this away now for about a year, half a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait until towards the end of the year. I've listened to it loads. I know what I like on it. And I think I sent you boys a message saying, okay, so we're doing these top 10s and everything. I'm revisiting Ghost, and fuck me, it's belting. It's great. It's got some great stuff.
Oh.
And it jumped up to like 3rd, and then I bumped it down to 4th when Green King released the last album of 2022 for me.
Great.
Hidden Beyond Time.
So
Finnish band.
So because I think we've covered ones that we've all got.
Yes.
So should we just go into random? So what's Green King all about? Where did that come in your list?
This is the first time that the Facebook algorithm found me and worked me out.
Yeah.
Every other time it's like, what the fuck? Why do I want to listen to this? This riff come on. It was called something like
Gates of Annihilation, God Killer.
Speed something. Fucking anyway, it basically.
So have you been bumming this quite a bit as well?
No, today.
and
Literally, I've
you're
put
already
on twice.
quoting.
Twice.
This is how your brain works.
But it's because it's good.
Yeah.
It's great.
So 6 weeks ago,
Love it.
I get this little ad.
You know track names.
Yeah.
Sorry, you get an ad.
Yeah, so I get this ad 6 weeks ago, and
It's
I'm
not
like,
the dodgy
I'm
things you
into
normally
that.
get.
I'm into that. So then I go on their Bandcamp page and I read about them. I listen to the 2 pre-release tracks they've got
Killers
for the
1,
record. Realise that the record's going to be classically short. Like, they're not going to outstay their welcome.
35 minutes.
Done. You know, like fucking straight up. Good artwork. They're Finnish for a start.
Right. So anything Scandinavian to us is instantly
Quality.
Authentic.
escalated, isn't it? Because
If you,
it's
come
just a
from
part
the,
of
if,
the
you came
world.
from the, if you come from the same soil as Turbo Negro, you're fucking...
It's just a part of the world that we're infatuated with, isn't it?
And of course, we went through that phase in the mid-2000s we discussed earlier on, like with Saviours and bands of that calibre
Valkyrie.
that just had those sort of like fast, frenetic riffs. They had a bit of punch and a bit of pace.
Bit
Classic
classic,
rock,
But it's
but
held
still
together by
sonnery.
classic writing.
Yeah.
Twin 70s lead style.
Yeah.
And they've just come in, and I pre-ordered it from Amazon. It come out obviously about probably like 2 weeks ago or something. And I've just had such nostalgic feels
It's
for
great.
it.
It's
I
a great
love it.
record.
The whole thing is perfect. It's a great record. And it just ended up sitting where it sat because it can't
What
push
number,
above
sorry?
3.
Wow. So
Right,
2
shot
records
right
that have
back in.
been out barely 5 or 6 weeks are both in your top 3.
I've just realised Ghost is 5th because 4th
Ghost is 5th.
is an album that we both agree on that you got me into,
Go on.
beginning with W.
Watain.
Oh.
That's a great record.
And I had no knowledge of Watain in my life until earlier this year when you had said, "Oh, Smithy, I think you should check this out."
We know each other's tastes.
Yeah. You were a follower of Watain before this.
Yeah, I've liked Watain a few years.
Yep. So the agony and ecstasy of Watain is savage.
It's a great record. They're sort of like, they're on the verge of that, for me, that stadium black metal sort of style, right?
Not with that 5th track name.
Fuck no. No. But they're
BC.
they're proper like BM to the core. And this album's great. They've had a couple of sketchy albums recently where because they escalated their career quite well, and they did a couple of records ago, they sort of slipped in a bit of like too much kind of rock and roll for me. But now they've just come back with a couple of absolutely savage records again. So they've just sort of levelled off and gone, look, we're not gonna, I'm not saying they're trying to do anything,
No.
but they've just levelled off and gone, do you know what, we just want to make the filthiest record.
Yeah.
And it was all recorded live apparently, or most of it.
Didn't you say in a
just
church?
And it sounds like it as well.
Well,
Like
it's a
once
church
you
in
know
London.
that,
Yeah.
I know that will change the way you think about this, but I think you can then hear it.
It is an incredible record.
It's great.
And the artwork's great as well. I love the fucking artwork. But that just...
Watain, they're Swedish, aren't they?
That's kind of maintained its positioning in my chart this year since I heard it.
Yeah.
Because it's the most interestingly diverse BM black metal sort of record for a long time for me.
It's great.
Like it can't, and ironically, a Behemoth record coming out in a year is usually a real thing for me,
Yeah.
a real experience.
Yeah.
But Watain took that from
Did
them this
it?
year.
Have I just
Because
spotted a
it's just-
mistake in
I
my
think
top-
because it's
I
a bit
like
more
Behemoth's-
extreme.
Oh my
and-
god!
What's that?
I just spotted a mistake in my 10.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
It's
did
not
you?
like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
But yeah,
great.
Behemoth have kind of they've done that thing you said about Watain. They're embracing their ability to fill a large room
The
now.
stadium.
The
yeah.
stadium element,
They're
like
getting-
the grandiose ending to a record, and playing with different styles.
Yeah.
Whereas Watain literally just went, well, we're going to
They
go
just
back
seem
to
to have-
basics, but
yeah.
embrace our technicality with it at the same time.
Totally.
And the riffs are just unreal. I think I said to you
It's
boys,
savage.
you've got a bit that's like Carcass, that goes into a bit that's like Obituary, but then all of a sudden you get the classic Slayer breakdown, and you're still only halfway through one track.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, it's just insane. Sits at number 4. Where did that sit for you? Got in your top 10.
3, 4, 5, 7th.
7th.
and I think you and I don't cross over again now.
Do we not?
No, we don't cross over at
See,
all.
so this is the beauty of us three. I mean, not blowing smoke up our own arses, but you'll not find any better music connoisseurs than us for this kind of stuff.
For
Firstly.
listening to different
For the,
stuff.
and the
Totally.
breadth of music we
Yeah.
listen to, it's insane.
And I think our lists are pretty different, aren't
Well,
they?
you and I only cross on Elder. We've already crossed on.
We've got another one to cross
We've
on.
crossed
haven't
on. We've
You
crossed on
cross
Elder.
over.
We also crossed on 4 others, I think.
we? Yeah, I think we do.
One we crossed on is my number 1, which
Yes.
is Megadeth.
Oh,
So Megadeth was my number 1, the sick, the dying, and the dead, because it was literally. Let's get the context here. Dave Mustaine is Megadeth, and it may only have been in the 90s where he had a consistent lineup for more than 2 albums on a run,
yeah.
right? But he is Megadeth, and even this time he didn't have his right hand man Ellefson with him. It's just him. But the musicians he finds for a period, maybe an album or 2, or just a tour, whatever it is, that combo just does him justice. And on this particular record, they have captured a fuse between like 86p cells and that commerciality thrash of Countdown to Extinction. It's like a fusion. So you're listening to songs and it's 86, and then they get the next one where it's still frenetic and thrashy, but you've got that countdown bit of commerciality in there. And just the sheer breadth of the album. He's playing and he's writing, he's off the charts. And Mustaine works best when the world is fucked and angry.
Yeah.
Because it gives him something to get his teeth into. And the more we have some global crisis, you get cracking Megadeth records.
Especially something
Endgame.
like a virus. Like it's perfect for his lyricism.
So literally, this is just a shred fest.
That's literally your favourite album.
It's
this
just because
year.
I can't stop
And
going
then-
back
and
to
it
it.
is a shred fest because for me,
Oh.
that was one that was one that kind of went up and down a bit,
It's
and then it
just
clicked.
dirty.
It clicked one day, and I was listening to it, and I listened to it all the way through in the car, and I was like, "Yeah, this is giving me Rust in Peace, fucking
It's
Peace
just
Cells
it's
vibes."
relentless,
The riffs are incredible, the production's incredible,
clinical.
and
Like
it got to
Megadeth has had a really clinical.
sixth
That's
out of
good.
my top 10.
It's just for me, it captures the classicness of Megadeth. Like
Yeah.
13 albums in after he's been through all sorts of shit.
What's it called? The Sixth
Sick
of
of Dying
Dying.
and the Dead. Because what's interesting is Megadeth had a revival just before the album Endgame, and then Endgame, One Other, and Dystopia put them back on the map as like literally like the 80s is reborn again. Not
Yeah.
like Metallica's weak attempts with like
Yeah.
Death Magnetic and stuff like that. Megadeth did a couple, Endgame, Dystopia particularly, that had put them right back on the map. But between them was this weirdo album called Super Collider that had like some of these weird rock stuff on it and really lightweight stuff.
Yeah,
that
I
people
said
were like,
I'd
hang
get
on,
into that.
you just grabbed your thrash crown back and then you do this. It's just stylistically all the way around. But there's nothing going on in the world to fuck him off and make him
Yeah,
angry again.
yeah.
Then
No.
he has Dystopia, and now he's done this one, and it is a perfect Megadeth album. I think it might be for me so good I could plug it into a Megadeth top 5.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
I was just like, my God, you two, fucking Megadeth.
Well, you know my.
You'll be changed when you see the
know,
Bloodstock. You'll be changed, man.
you know my feelings, but there's nothing I love and respect more than a more mature band coming up with some of their best material late in their career.
It doesn't always
There's nothing
happen.
that pleases me more.
Doesn't always happen.
Because to be so current still is just the ultimate accolade, isn't it, for me?
And that's
as
what
a
they've had for
musician.
this. Yeah, they've had tons for this.
Yeah.
Tons of accolades that it's one of his best albums. That how can you still put this out
Totally.
after 35, 40 years? How can you possibly bang that out now? Because
Let's see if he's editing his list now.
No, I've just realised. I didn't move something about. But as I look at it, I feel like I could move Megadeth into the 5th spot over Ghost. But
so that's been a real.
So that's a joint one, and our next joint one was one that you still ain't fucking listened to.
I know what you're going to say.
Skid Row, The Gang's All Here.
God, what a record!
Which sat quite highly for a while, and then I listened to Slave to the Grind again the other day, and Skid Row self-titled, and I was like, "Don't be a fool." There is a line. Now I adore The Gang's All Here.
Oh, don't! It's close.
But it is not.
It's not
Slave to the Grind.
No, but it's the best thing they've done since Subhuman.
I can't believe I bought a Skid Row album this year. That's the first thing.
I agree.
Because I'm so behind back and against everything else that it was never going to happen, and then they released that Gang's All Here single, which is just
this is another one of those great
straight up the ass.
This is another one of them great stories, isn't it? Like Ripper Owens from the Priest tribute band. This guy was singing 18 and Life and some other ones on like a Swedish kind of X Factory show, and then suddenly it's like, well, hang on a minute.
He won the show.
It's the marriage, isn't it?
So he was the guy that won the Swedish, like the X Factor or Voice or whatever it is over there, and performed 2 Skid Row tracks during his time on the show.
Yeah.
And then it come to the point that DP Third or whatever his name is decided that he wasn't going to continue on, which is brilliant because he was shit. The guy from Dragon Force.
Yeah.
It was Johnny Solinger before.
Did they do a record with him?
Yes, I think
they did, and so I haven't even heard more than one track because it's his vocals on that is wrong. Okay. And then this guy basically gets asked by the guitarist if he wants to have a bash at a couple of tracks because he'd seen him live doing it, and it's so authentically Skid Row. That when they've written an album, it's got the pitch that you want. It's got the progression of the vocals, the writing of the vocals, the way that he pronounces the words.
And he's close to back, so you think you're listening to really authentic Skid Row. But he has enough of his own identity where you can go, it is new. That's why I love it so much. It's not as good as the debut or Slave to the Grind, but it's the best thing they've done since he left.
I was just saying for me there. At one point, I was so into it.
Oh yeah, you were.
Could have been number 2. Could have been number 1.
But it's relentless. It's like 40 minutes of absolutely classic, bludgeoning 90s hard rock. It is perfect in every way. There's no let up. Just 10 tracks. Bang, 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 bang. It's just great.
I think the only track on
hooks.
Yeah, hook after hook.
I still haven't listened.
The only track on the album that I'm still a bit nonplussed with might be the third track that I think the bassist wrote.
Right.
So because it's obviously the original members without Seb back, they've all had a little digging. But
Not Dead Yet. Time Bomb.
Now Time Bomb's all right, but that for me was the only dip in the record.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant, and it upsets me that you haven't given it the time of day.
I think you made the classic point of because our listening preferences are so wide, we get down in these little alleys sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
Listening to
little
a certain
holes.
style.
Yeah.
And this year, which actually looking at my list,
you're away from the hard rock,
mate. My whole list is because I've been obviously listening to hardcore and extreme metal and like not much else, and that's why I know I'll enjoy the Skid Row record,
but not at this rate.
Tons. It's just I can't get into. Like I've just started listening to the Helicopters and that, which will come up I think in a couple of your bits.
Oh.
So I'm back into the rock and roll side of things. So I think it will naturally come soon because I've been so, for no reason other than hardcore particularly this year has been fantastic, especially in the States, and there's been a few more extreme records that are really fucking...
Whereas we were sticking with a lot of the...
So where's Skid Row for you before we move
Yeah.
on? 4! Got 4th!
Couldn't stop
Mine was
listening to it.
6th.
I thought it was going to be higher than 6 when I
Seventh.
first read...
Seventh,
Yeah,
That
actually.
dropped a lot for me.
when I first read your list, I was like, oh... Just because you'd been going on about it for fucking months.
Yeah.
And so,
7th.
so interestingly, the third of our 5 crossovers,
Yeah, is another one
as
he's
you've
gonna
just
have.
mentioned, which is the helicopters.
Nice.
No, not for me.
Didn't you make your
Is that
10?
your 10?
Didn't make my 10, did it?
Oh.
Helicopters never made my 10. The chats were in there, but they've been pushed out because of Friends of Hell with old Albert Witchfinder. But
So you had the what number 3?
Can't stop listening to it. I cannot stop putting it on. It is just... your point you made to me about it makes me want to put the old stuff on.
Yeah.
Right? I agree with that,
Yeah.
but for a different viewpoint.
It's early days,
It makes me
though.
want, it makes me want to listen to the old stuff because I'm getting the same vibe.
Yeah.
I just think
fair
it's
enough.
a cracking helicopter style hard rock and roll album.
oh, it's way
It's
better than Head Off,
It's great.
Which I love.
which you love, but it's way better than Head Off.
Is that
just
the
think-
covers one? That's
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I can't fault it.
Darling,
From top
that
to
darling,
finish, I
darling
can't find
track
any
on that.
skippers. The artwork with the big aviator shades is amazing. All the performances
great
are
artwork.
great. The songs are short and sharp and to the point. Bags of riffs, hooky, catchy, all of it. I just think it is a fantastic comeback, and a lot of my list based on how much of it am I listening to. How many times am I going back to it?
Yeah.
And that's where you got Megadeth, Skid Row, Helicopters in that sort of top, and Ghost in that top 4, because I just didn't stop listening to them. Which means it's connected. It's what I'm down with it.
Can I just
And
intercheck?
Helicopters was
Go
a
on.
late inclusion in your list because
Big
all
time.
of us
We never
hadn't
listened to
actually
it.
listened to it for months.
We said we were going to hold off and do a listening at one of our PDE nights, and the PDE nights got delayed.
Yeah.
And eventually I said, "Fuck this! I need to hear this."
Because we hold this band very highly,
Yeah.
don't we?
And I dived in on it a bit naughtily, and then let you know I'd done it. You jumped on it initially again, where you were like fucking banging.
Oh yeah,
But
it was in contention for being in the top
But
10.
you held out. You held out and held out.
Because I wasn't in the mood
No,
for
you're
it.
not hope. You're not extreme or hardcore enough.
Before I forget this point, we talked about Scandinavia earlier. I've just noticed how many bands in all our lists
Yeah.
are from Scandinavia. So we've got Watain, right? They're from fucking... Where are they from? They're Swedish, I think.
Right.
We've got
Helicopters.
Helicopters. We've got... There was another one, I'm sure, in
We
one
talked
of our
about it earlier.
lists.
We talked about it earlier.
What did you...
Elder.
what did you- Elder.
Elder.
Are they Scandinavian?
Yeah, I think so.
And I've got Hallas as well.
And it ties in
So that's
that
4.
the new singer of Skid Row's Swedish.
5.
Which I remember telling you that's probably why I like it a little bit more, because
Got
they've
the
got
retro
this
rock.
random, the retro rock.
So sorry,
yeah,
just a quick point.
that is a great point.
5
Very
records of
So to kill this point off, we had one more. So we'd met on Megadeth, Ghost, not the Helicopters, Skid Row, Elder,
Yeah,
and we had one more, I think.
Lamb of God.
Lamb of God
Omens.
makes our 10.
not Slipknot,
No,
Lamb of God.
Lamb of God.
Lamb of God.
Because it's just
Omens.
a great Lamb of God record.
It is
it
a
called
great.
Omens?
Yeah, it's called Omens, and there are moments on there that I think I mentioned to you once before where I was listening to it and I was like, "Ooh, Randy Blythe, who's done the one style of vocal for his career essentially, has done a bit of Pete Steele."
Yeah, that
And
first,
there are these moments in there where I was like, "I'm into
Type O,
this."
is it?
Yeah,
quite a very deep sort of that deep throaty
Little
baritone on
bellow.
a couple of bits, and he opens it up on a couple of tracks, and you're like, "That's fresh."
like it.
I was enjoying that, and it wasn't that thing where you're like, "Oh, I've always respected him because he just has it on every record," and even though they've got more commercial, he just still has it on every record.
Yeah.
The introduction, if it didn't make you go, "Oh, that's a bit fucking weak, he's finally given in," you were just like, "That's a nice little extra layer." And
Yeah.
the rest of it's still savage. But it's just chock full of what you want from a Lamb of God album. Massive riffs, massive grooves, massive Randy Blythe vocals. It doesn't do anything clever or stray too much from the formula. If anything, more groove than normal.
Yeah, they have, for me,
Heavy
they've
Pantera
bridged the gap
silence.
between Sacrament and the new album, because the bits in between I've not really been into, and I've followed their career, but I've always been like, Sacrament's my last great album by them, Raff's a bit shit, and then it gets worse. And the last album was probably like a 6 out of 10. I really liked some of it, and then by the end of it I was like, this
keeps you going right the way through.
This is a proper solid effort. 8 out of 10. Put it in my 8th place.
Another point to mention, and I'll just confirm this, it was 7th.
7th.
And that's us crossing over 5 times. It would have been 6 if I'd got the helicopters right. We had a lot of stuff we got in on.
Have we crossed over anything?
Only the ones on Elder.
Only one.
I was just going to say one thing about that Lamb of God album, and I'm just going to check this before I gob off and get it potentially wrong. But we've come up with this a couple of times during this discussion. A lot of the albums this year, lean and mean. This is 41 minutes. So that part we talked about the epicness of Elder, but a lot of what we've talked about so far, they've been what I would call the one side of a C90 cut-off point, 45 or less. A lot of them 40, 35.
So in my top 3...
Well, I was going to say lean. If you're going to go lean, let's get on to hard.
Well, no, it's not, but it's just interesting.
Force nearly made it in my top 10 with their lean 17-minute album.
Is it 17?
Is it 17 minutes or so?
I'm going to have a look.
Mind Force.
So Mind
a band
Force...
that were heavily on your radar for years, but just appeared on my radar with their new album.
New Lords.
That's it.
Or is it
fucking crossover perfection.
I didn't realise it was so short.
Perfection. That's an album.
Right, so Mind Force in the US at the moment is like a really fantastic hardcore research. I wouldn't even say resurgence. It's always but particularly the last couple of years has been incredible for new bands. And there's probably 3 or 4 in my top 10 list. One of which is Mind Force. But Mind Force are like this band. Very much closer to our age, so all in their like early 40s, and they've been knocking on, but for some reason this band has just gone wallop. And they've never toured. They do like a couple of shows a month, like tops. But they've already found themselves at like the top tier of like shows, and people are coming out to see them, mate. Like, I'm not saying massive.
They're what Turnstile were last year to what is this year.
So, and it's all on the back of like, you can go down the weeds, but there's a bit of a Turnstile, what's the word? There's a knock-on effect from how big Turnstile have got to that US scene. But Turnstile now have kind of just they're so big, but the US hardcore undercurrent are still like playing like to 500 people consistently. So these bands are often playing together as well, and they're just playing these what look like incredible shows like up and down the country.
They're so proficient live as well when they play.
So I would describe Mind Force as like Randy Rhoads on guitar, but a bit thrashier, and then so it's like. It is, isn't it? Like the solos and the guitar work are literally Randy Rhoads. And then there's lots of just like they've got
the classic sensibility in there,
but with this incredible lead guitar work, and it works so well. And the vocalist is just like this guy that just kind of shouts in this real quirky way. Head to dress in like Ralph Lauren polo sportswear, and it just works, man.
Their logo is so fucking high school, right on the back of your pad or whatever, and they've just kept it.
But musically, it's like great heavy metal sort of.
So fucking well.
I jumped on these.
You would like it.
They're going on to my list now.
So where did you had them?
So Mind Force ended up on mine. It is further down, but I had them.
But it didn't break 10, did it?
No, it was in 15th place.
Cool. 3, 4, 5. Mine's at 6. Mind Force, New Lords. Yeah.
What a record, though.
It's cool, isn't it?
I've grabbed
Everybody's got time to listen to that one. 17 minutes of your day.
Well, I've just realised that in my list, my number 1 is 15 minutes long, I think, if that. My number 3 is probably 15 minutes long.
Oh, I was going to guess your number 1, but now number 3's 15.
I love that band Cloud Rat.
Like, you do like them, don't you?
Fuck me, they are legends.
I've not listened to them, have you?
No,
1,
not
2,
yet.
3,
No.
4. So we've all played in bands and that, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I played with this band Cloud Rat, like in Germany, like quite a few years ago. And I didn't really think much of them really at the time. I probably wasn't watching them properly, but I thought they were banging. But yeah, a couple of years later, I really started to understand them, and they're like fucking just brilliant.
No, they're up there.
It's like this grindcore. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's literally a bit of everything on the extreme side. So it's just a bit of grindcore, a bit of hardcore, some breakdown, some chugga, some black
some
metal,
DB,
some death metal, lots of deep. So it's everything. Great record, Cloud Rat.
What's the configuration of the band? Because me and Ian need to get our heads around this now. So, have you got traditional 4 members? How are they made
So
up?
Cloud Rat is it's literally a guitarist,
Are they underground?
a singer. A guitarist, a singer, and a drummer.
Go and
Oh,
check
there
them
it
out
is.
then.
So it's just guitar, no bass.
No bass. Classic grind approach that.
So it's drums and guitar,
Unless you're Dan
Well,
Lilker.
Shane Embry.
And then
Or
a
Dan
singer.
Lilker.
Oh yeah.
and then a singer.
Dan
But
Lilker.
they're a fucking incredible band.
We'll have to get on them then. Cloud Rat.
Yeah.
You would like
yeah.
it, because if you like, you'll love them. You'll love them. If
I'm
you like
stacking
that
them there.
brutal truth kind of grind that incorporates a little bit of everything.
Say brutal truth for me.
But they're better than brutal truth. It's like they're just
they're better than brutal
Honestly,
truth. They're better than Kevin Sharp.
mate. Like their last couple of albums. If you like,
Hang on,
I
this
can't-
is 31 minutes threshold.
oh really? I'm lying in, but
No.
but
No,
nonetheless,
you didn't say this was a 15-minute.
Did I
You
not?
just said
No, you
Oh,
got
no,
2 others
yeah.
than the 15
that
minutes.
is. However, that's 15 tracks in 31 minutes.
Yeah,
And where are they from?
I don't know, mate. States, from the States. Good people too. Very good people.
From the States, eh?
Cracked.
Yeah, boy.
I've cracked them.
Oh,
So
okay,
I've
I've seen
seen-
them yet. They're from Michigan.
That's it.
And they've been around since 2009. Jesus,
Yeah.
they're not new.
They've done the rounds.
Similar artists that Apple have recommended for me to go along with this for some random reason includes a band called Pissgrave.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
great.
Never heard of it.
Oh my
No.
god, there's like literally a massive carcass style cover for the first one.
Posthumous
Piss
humiliation.
So I think we know where this is going.
But Cloud Rat are nothing like that. They're like super hippie sort of.
Right, yeah. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know why Pissgrave
Yeah.
came up. Jesus.
Do we not cross over on anything else?
We don't know.
No, there's one that I bought that rated very highly for you, but I've kind of gone off them a bit. Like they're a little bit samey as all of the era that they've come from.
Right.
And I think they're probably one of your favourites.
What was that?
End It.
So
Now I enjoyed End It at first. Oh no, hold on. No, it is End It. Like I
think you said
I
it at
bought
the
it
time.
and I was into it, and then I found myself finding it very, very derivative of a great chunk of my hardcore collection, to the point that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to
Really?
revisit this. Whereas Mindforce, the solos in Mindforce went, well, Jesus, I
Yeah,
need
yeah.
this in my life.
Yeah,
Rocky
yeah,
George
yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
going for it. But with End
It's like
It,
Randy Rhodes, isn't
End
it?
It is technically amazing. Like I couldn't play what they play, and I couldn't do it with the conviction they do. But I think maybe right now in my life,
You could.
I told you, didn't I, that like
Yeah.
I was kind of swaying away from too much of what I've already got.
Oh yeah, totally.
So like you had said with Green King earlier,
Yeah.
if he had done classic vocals, a la Greta Van Fleet and stuff,
Yeah.
Just a
might not
proper
have been
Trad,
into it.
Ripperoinsy, Halfordy,
Yeah.
Joey, whatever kind of operatic thing, I would have been like, it's just derivative, it's rubbish.
Yeah,
But because he's not doing that.
Nice.
And End It had
Edge.
that thing that Mindforce had, but Mindforce did it way better
Fair
for me.
play. So End It's my favourite record of the year. Like it's
Short, sharp.
It's like for me, it's like
Is it the drumming, do you think?
it's everything.
Okay.
It's just the perfect for what I like, especially these days, of a hardcore record, it's like perfection, and I can't gush about it anymore. Like, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. And again, I find it hard to describe bands, but it's like, it's a bit of all sorts. It's got the pace of like early 80s hardcore, but it's got like the breakdowns and the general more metallic guitars of like a Biohazard and Suicidal, hasn't it?
That's my problem though. Then I find myself wanting to listen to Controlled by Hatred or like Blood, Sweat and Tears or something because it's just giving me that vibe.
By Hatred, what?
We played it in the car on the way to
Will
we played it in the car on the way to somewhere. Yeah.
It was brutal.
I think I said in the car that I liked it, but I wasn't in the mood for it.
No.
And then you went, okay, well I'll play you fucking Touche Amore, which I've obviously been a fan of for many years.
We parked the car.
Wrong time.
We were trapped in that car, feeling very mellow about the whole of existence.
Yeah.
Then you put that on. By the time we pulled up in London, we were traumatised, like we just witnessed serial killing, but couldn't kind of get it into our mellow vibes. And the whole thing was just like, it just won't go together. Won't go together.
And it's not like extreme metal or anything, is it? It's just really
emotionally
intense. It's emotionally disturbing.
So End It gave you the flag.
It's just perfection. It's everything I love about like 90s hardcore, which I've fallen even more in love with the last 2 or 3 years, is that particular decade of like we are all hardcore kids as well.
Oh, we've always said that
I'm a
you
particularly
cannot
hardcore
that pace.
Kid. Yeah, totally. Yes, perfect. Give it a listen.
Yeah,
it
is good. This is the thing, and it's way better than so much other stuff.
For sure.
But if you had a collection like I've got at home,
I can see why you think you've heard it before. I
might find in 6 months when I'm listening to something that, again, this is why I don't like to commit too much to the end of year thing in December like people do. It's hard.
No, it is.
But End It was way better than one that had been lauded as album of the year in quite a few places, and that's Soul Glow. I do not get Soul Glow.
Yeah.
It's a bit like there was a band called Cerebral Ballsy quite a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the vocals annoyed me so much. It doesn't matter how clever or how well witted or if you're like poetic, if you sound a certain way that I can't get with.
Don't connect with it.
If it doesn't give you a chemical connection.
People were rating about Soul Glow, and again I was like, well, rate about Soul Glow, but like you guys should be rating about End It and Mind Force then.
Yeah. Their own, isn't it?
But it's that there's an element of Soul Glow where you've got I mean, this might sound bad, but if your lyrics are going to be revolved around current affairs like mental health and stuff, then you are going to get a lot of people going, yeah, we support you.
For sure.
And
you're going to get a natural uptick in terms of
the message.
Yes, you are singing about the right things, but you know. But
it's anyway.
But there's a great, to cap it off, there's a great resurgence or a great, US hardcore scene at the moment.
And that's saturated with a lot.
It's fucking sick.
See, for the rest of mine, not going into too much detail, apart from some ridiculous battle, which I regret putting on my 10 now, where Machine Head and Ozzy Osbourne were fighting out for the last place.
Like that.
And I was revisiting the Machine Head album more, but actually not so much now. So when you talk about getting to sort of February, March time, that place will change. My other stuff.
Shout out to Matt Elston.
The middle of mine seems to just go towards that Nebula end of psychedelic-y, stonery jam stuff. And again, it's that Ripple Music, Blues Funeral record labels that I scour a lot of. And basically 3 bands popped up. One was Nebula themselves.
Yeah.
That Transmissions album was a fabulous piece of garage stoner psych, right back to the Element, back to sort of like that era of Atomic Ritual. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's more that style.
And then out of the same farm came the new Wofat album, which is just like an hour and 16 minutes of massive 3-piece stoner psychedelic rock and roll jams, just loaded with riffs and fuzz.
Yeah.
But you've got to get immersed in it like Elder. You cannot jump in and out of that Wofat album. You've got to go for the hour plus.
Yeah. But I like that. because that's something that was something that we discussed, wasn't it?
Mm.
So each of us had such a diverse selection. Me and Chris had a few crossovers, but we had such a diverse selection that we suggested that the other people listen to a couple of records.
Yeah.
And I've tried out 3 of yours, which is the Onyx, Friends of Hell, and Green King.
Yes, so Onyx
Green
and
King,
Friends of Hell are at the end of my list.
Yeah,
Friends
big.
of Hell come in at 9th and Onyx at 10th.
Yeah.
I spoke about Onyx before on here, but so I suggested you two basically check out Onyx.
Yeah.
I've been terrible at this, by the way.
And then I asked you at the time to check out the chats, didn't I?
Yeah.
And you both did.
Which I did. I enjoyed it.
Chris
You liked it, didn't
the
you?
Aussie bruising.
Chris got the chats in the way that I got the chats, and you understood the chats in the way that we got it.
But found the Aussie accent to be a bit too overpowering in places.
I don't know. I struggle
Punk
with
rock
some
neighbours.
elements of punk rock.
This is the end it thing for me, where you're like, what are you giving me? Like, this is like that band, The Shitty Limits and stuff. Do you remember you were never really into them? Because it was like, this is very basic for you.
And again, I'm a punk kid.
Yeah.
But there's certain...
Type.
It's just taste in
Yeah,
it.
it
as
is
well.
taste.
There's a certain modern sort of punk that I just can't get into.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I
It's
can't
like
put
when
your
you feeling
finger on
sick
it.
when Blink are described as punk.
Yeah.
And bands like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't use that word for any of that, but you can.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
I don't
even
get it.
that. I don't
Yeah.
even get
you
too
don't get how the
hard
two are connected,
No,
because
how is that
you
connected?
hear punk and then you hear that and you're
I'm
like,
like,
what?
I'm like, I don't get it. How can you put fucking stuff like that together, and then Offspring and stuff like that? But I got it. It was a new version. It was a new variation of.
Yeah.
I just never got applying the word to it. So it's like
And I
you
try
say
not
about
to
these
get too
different
hung
bands
up on
and
the
tags,
label of
yeah,
it.
genres,
but-
labels, tags.
Yeah, but I just couldn't get into it. for
So
whatever. But
you
label
were
doesn't
kind. You were kind. You'd said
You
wrote
went to
that,
it.
and you said to listen to.
The Helicopters for you, because
No, you said
Wofat's.
to me the New Machine Head
Yeah,
album.
but I said essentially Wofat's enough. It's an hour and 16 minutes. You
Yeah.
could just do the Wofat album.
I
The other one I
haven't,
recommended, and I think you jumped, this was King Buffalo.
that was it.
So King
Because
Buffalo.
I heard the New Machine Head, so I was like, well, I'll
that's it.
listen.
yeah,
So King
Yeah.
Buffalo got into my 10. It's like Wofat and Nebula again. They've got this slightly proggy, psychedelic vibe to them, but they're a lot more clinical. There's no real jam to get really spacey. I first heard them a few years back on their Dead Star
You have
EP
been
that was
mentioning
amazing.
them.
They were supposed to smash 3 albums out in a
Yeah.
year, but COVID have meant they've done it in about 18 months. So literally almost inside just over a calendar year. They've had like the Burn the Restless, this Archeron, and then this new one. And I think they're 3 amazing albums. It's just really proggy. Sometimes the guitar gets really sparse and it's all driven by this amazing bass and a bit of psych. And then the guitar comes in all different styles.
listen to
But
it?
then you'll get a riff. You'll get a riff
Buffalo,
that
yeah.
nails it for a while. And because it's not there all the time, but it's fuzzy when the riff kicks in, it's very stoner. They're straddling stuff, but they are great 3-piece. Absolutely fantastic. King Buffalo.
as well.
The reason why, and that's where like I listen to it, but then I kind of struggle again because I feel like my quota for prog is taken by other bands.
Yeah.
So when I hear King Buffalo, I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it now
I've
makes
got enough
me
of
want to
it.
listen
Yeah.
to something else.
Probably even more prog, probably definitively prog.
So, yeah.
Regenerate.
Regenerate's
So-
great, yeah. And Dead Star EP is fantastic.
Harvey asked us to check out
Bloodhouse
2
Nord.
absolute filthy records.
Oh.
One being Bloodhouse Nord, which
Just-
was
It was terrifying.
sonically terrifying.
It's got a mug.
Like,
Oh,
It's
God.
got a what?
Mug.
I've
thanks, dude.
I've followed
Sam.
I don't know where they're from or anything.
I've followed that band
Depths of Hell.
for a few records, but don't delve too deeply
Love
into them.
Savage.
And of course, I listened to that Bloodhouse Nord within minutes of you asking and suggesting. That was
Nice.
the first thing I put on,
You know, you have to be in the mood.
and I listened to the whole thing. And technically, it is absolutely off the wall. Like, I don't even know how he plays those guitar
Yeah.
parts. It is mind-bendingly crazy.
Yeah,
But it is so fucking savage.
and it's so weird.
There's
as well.
no let up.
No.
Whereas
Has that
with Watain, you've got those moments of Slayer groove.
Yeah,
Bloodhouse
They're
Lord
more
about
songs,
that.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas Bloodhouse
It's an
Lord
assault, isn't it?
is an assault, and it's
a
got
sonic
this
assault.
mental proggy weirdness, and that second guitar lead like throughout every song that's well spacey and
It sounds like a
sinister.
fretless guitar with how
Right.
spacey it is. I don't know
Mad,
if it is.
isn't it?
I've never checked. But the wave of playing and the dive bombing between
but it's still
scales.
but it's uncomfortably
Yeah.
uncomfortable still, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like listening to The Shining, like listening to the chase scene in The Shining for an hour or whatever.
Black metal style.
It just completely.
Oh, Merry
savage.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, Merry Crimbo. Your tree's still up. That's nice. So obviously, yeah, we listened to Bloodhouse Lord, and you were secretly giggling to yourself, knowing just how insane that record is.
And how I
But that made number 10
traumatised
for me.
it made number 10, didn't it?
Fucking brilliant.
One of your
record.
favourites of the year.
But it is uncomfortable.
And the other one, which I really enjoyed and have delved into a few times now, is Half.
Good.
Because
Good.
it's very classic.
Yeah.
And it is so... It's enjoyable.
It's good quality death metal, isn't it?
It doesn't break my soul like Bloodhouse Lord.
Yeah.
break.
It's an enjoyable listen, Half.
Yeah.
What's the album called?
It's called All That Was Promised. So you lot need to listen to some of this.
Yeah, because that didn't make it into my list because I wasn't aware of it, and now I've listened to it, it would probably start to rank somewhere.
That was number
Don't know
8
when.
on mine.
Number what?
Number 8.
Number 8.
Yeah.
Which brings me on to my number 9, which you said, which is Rise Above Records' newest, export. With Taz.
Used to talk about them, isn't it?
Taz, the Greek dude that we used to see at the Underworld all the time, face tattooed, absolutely covered, was in Electric Wizard at one point.
Oh, yeah.
But no, he's Cypriot, isn't he?
Okay.
Anyway,
Right.
it's got Albert Witchfinder from Reverend Bazaar being vocalist.
Fuck's sake.
Just a vocalist. And you say fuck's sake, it is so good. Chris pointed out the other day, you could pick
What
a
they
different
called?
singer from a classic era that he has kind of definitely been in.
He sounds a bit like Rieger's, a bit like Liebling. But
Proper like Liebling.
Still identifiably.
And Wino
Album
was the other
editor.
one, wasn't it?
What are they called again? Sorry,
Friends of Hell.
Friends
They're
of
on
Hell.
Rise Above Records, which is arguably my favourite record label. That I get quite excited by many records by them. But
That's a really... Imagine that Swedish rock revival style and the pentagram leanings, then put it for a gnarly, filthy grinder. For that sort of occulty, Electric Wizard, filthy kind of production. Really crusty and horrible. And then put those great doom vocals over the top.
Nice.
it's really enjoyable. I think you'd actually enjoy it if you were going through a bit of a phase. You'd enjoyed adding that in.
Yeah.
But that one was quite a late inclusion as well, because I think I sent you a message where I was like, how the fuck have I not listened to this?
Yeah, that weren't in your original list, was
No,
it?
It's amazing.
I remember seeing the cover when it was being released, and it was just very much like a
Reverend Bizarre.
10-second sort of promo or whatever, and then I completely forgot that had come out. But unlike that, did you remember the Helicopters promo they did? Which was like a low.
Yeah.
It was like the back of that classic Helicopters sort of car.
Yeah.
And it was like a low angle, like a George A. Romero film or something, and it's following it, chugging along like a Blue Oyster Cult video. And then it reaches an opening, doesn't it, where they're playing, and then just as they're about to kick the riff in, it stops, and it's like New Helicopters album. So again, I forgot about that, because they didn't give me any more. It's just a little teaser.
Really. Yeah.
So then you move on. So Friends of Hell, Chris has checked it out. I recommend giving it a go.
Obviously, I am biased towards them as well because I am a monstrous Reverend Bizarre fan.
You are, aren't you?
So Reverend Bizarre were like a Finnish doom group who probably split up about 8 years ago. And
They call themselves what? The biggest...
biggest sellouts in True Doom.
Yeah, that's it.
So they just put a demo out called Slice of Doom.
True Doom.
Got themselves signed. And they do the first album, and it is hard doom in the rectory of the Bizarre Reverend, and it's hard doom. Jesus Christ, it's heavy, but he's got an amazing voice.
Bellows.
Albert Witchfinder. It's amazing. And then they did an EP, and then the next thing you know, they've got a second album due to come out, and they released one of the tracks, Slave of Satan, that's like 15 minutes long, and it charts in Finland.
Yeah.
So they put stickers on the front of the second album, Crush the Insects, the biggest sellouts in true Doom. And the opening song is called like Doom Over the World.
Doom over the world.
You realise at that point, they are painting themselves as uber doom icons. All the imagery, the pictures that went with it, the performances, everything. But actually, there was a bit of a cheeky wink behind all this, because they knew they were playing everyone, because it was almost just like it was not a laugh, but they were in on the joke and the rest of us weren't.
Yeah, you're wearing our patches, and we're openly saying that we are imitating what you love,
what you want,
to the highest order.
But yeah, it's just, and then of course they go, it was going to be like a 4 or 5 album cycle, but we're sick of ourselves and the music, so we're just going to do this last album called So Long Suckers.
Yeah,
completely straight away, like So Long Suckers is about as undoomingly named as you could get, but it is like monstrous.
And the first
record.
track,
they used
Dark
Dark Forces, Teutonic Witches, the money shot.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just shy of 30 minutes is
almost
the opening
5
track
minutes of
that album.
For about 5 minutes.
Amazing.
Just galloping. It's just
God.
But they were geniuses. They had loads of amazing split singles as well, which they
You've been
collected on their last.
You've been into this for
they collected on their last album,
years.
and I love them. And so
Yeah.
when he does anything, I'll always give it a listen, even though he's solo work, like we said, the Puritan and out.
Is it?
No, Orm and Lord Vicar was the
Orm.
guitarist, I think. Peter Vicar.
No, it's all of them.
Is it?
It ended up being all of
I
them,
didn't know
yeah.
that.
Which was a weird thing, because they did a side project of the entire
side
band were in
band,
the side
yeah.
project. So,
Wow.
but yeah,
he
they
did
all
the Puritan,
pale
he
in
did-
comparison.
Yeah, and he's done his recent one, I can't remember what the fuck it's called, but I've got it. It's called Droner or something. That's the name of the album, but it's out there. It's fucking avant-garde crazy stuff. Because he was doing the vocals on this, I'm like, I'll be sold on this anyway.
Yeah.
And they're great.
And it is
Great.
great because he's not doing anything but vocals on it.
Yeah,
he's
right.
just doing
No
like
pressure,
so.
no nothing.
He's got this ability to, again, imitate all of the greats in a way that it's collectively works as an album.
And each
But you
vocal
could
he
say
does
each track
suits
is
the song.
Yeah,
It's really good. It's worth checking out.
but yeah, I don't know if you're not in the mood
I've
for
lived with
anything
you, mate.
doomy.
I've listened to him a
They haven't
bit.
been crushed with some Reverend Bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is classic track length. It's got
Right.
Scorpions-esque sort of guitar
Yeah,
solos.
four minutes a song.
Like this is more. You haven't got to wait 30 minutes to
Yeah.
hear the second riff, basically. That's an insult. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
What did I say to you? I said to you that I think it might be the second track on So Long Suckers or something.
Yeah. Yes.
And at 17 minutes or something into this song is one of the most incredible gargantuan riffs, but nothing changes for those first 17 minutes.
Yeah.
They carry that riff until that point.
In a way, it's almost like drone. It's although it is still proper
don't
doom,
think I
and it's
could handle it.
just the riffs just go on. They don't stop. But I think that was also just part of the joke. Well, not
Yeah.
joke, but just part
Just
of what
how
it was.
long can we push
But
it?
this is where me and Chris are similar, because we can listen to
Yeah.
for 20 minutes and it not upset us.
No.
But you, after like a few minutes, is starting to get a twitch. Like,
Yeah.
change it, dude. Like,
My Uncle Band's have done 5
something.
songs by now.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't love that stuff.
No, but you don't
It's
need
just-
20 minutes of it.
I don't think so. I don't know.
God,
I'll revisit the reference.
Yeah, I'll definitely get yourself. Just listen to So Long Suckers. They use Dark Forces, Teutonic Witch. Jesus.
So Long
Christ.
Suckers could be my favourite out of all their albums. There's something about it I really, really enjoy.
Mixture of all sorts in
But
it.
In the Rectory is obviously great,
It's just
and
nice, gnarly.
you know,
They did something that me and him passed up on. I got into it. I found out about it a bit too late, but Reverend Bizarre decided to get their back catalogue repressed up for vinyl for the first time, right?
Big
Two
elaborate box sets.
two very heavy record
Yeah.
collectors.
So each of the four released records were put in like 3 LP little boxes with all the treatment and everything, but they were insanely expensive. But you realise it was only 4 you needed to have got the whole recorded output.
Which you've
And it
probably
was-
got anyway.
I didn't get
right?
any of them. I've got CDs of everything.
But that's what I was going to say. You've got right.
Yeah, but and then of course they topped it.
CDs are fine.
They topped it by going back to the original 3 demos and putting them in a 4-disc box to have an absolute, and they must have looked gorgeous.
With an extra 7-inch,
7-inch patches,
and fucking
yeah.
DVD and a live performance
Yeah.
and their first show they ever performed.
And it was still on wax.
And it
looked sick.
finished their collection, it bookended it, and it was in a way that me and him were like, oh shit.
We should have done this for the
because we
reunion.
didn't do the other 4.
Can't get just
We
Slice of
can't
Doom,
just
man.
get Slice of Doom because we can't complete it afterwards.
You two are fucked in the head.
But this EP, Harvey, is so massively expansive that it's like 90 quid
Yeah.
for the vinyl
And it
box
is
set.
ultimately 3 demos.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But they have gone true sellout again.
Yeah.
Here's everything
Have the lot.
in one go. So
The other thing is it's one of those little sets, if you had them, it's been curated by the band, so you know it's good. Not some of the times another label will get it and try and do it justice, but the spirit of the actual reissue isn't there. Even though it kind of looks right, it's been mastered nicely, you're looking at it and going, it's hollow for some reason. Whereas they curated
Like
this,
all the
which made them
sleep
like...
issues. Yeah, pretty fucking hollow, aren't they?
Hot the Lava Man. Now available on digital. Oh, it's going to the vinyl of the album next week as well. Your
know.
box set
I'm
is
not-
worthless.
we've got a
not
limited
against it, exactly.
version of Dope Smoker coming out, and you're like, this must be pressing 78. you
I'm
know,
not
like-
against an LP pressing, but
No.
when it gets into double figures, then
Oh,
you're
it's
starting to-
ridiculous. If you look at the
starting
Discogs
to worry
page,
about something.
you're scrolling for days.
Yeah.
You should scroll down a little bit and then it's done.
Yeah.
But with Sleep, it's like, okay.
All you need is the TP Records first pressing of Dope Smoker,
Yeah.
and then you need the Southern Lord very first pressing on
yeah.
vinyl, and you're done. You're done.
I've got. I
With
don't
the
know what
Sonic
CD
Titan
I've
B-side.
got.
Sonic Titan, yeah.
What CD have I got? Where I think I've got the Rise Above Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That's
CD.
still rare as shit, mate.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. Now you think what Sleep are now?
I
as a band,
suppose, yeah.
And that's one of the minimal.
Is that the
guys
one with
above
your
this.
tattoo?
No, my one predates even.
Because
now.
I've got the one.
That's a later version. The one I've got.
Yeah,
I've got the Rise
one,
Above
yeah.
with
So the
the
Rise
green
Above one is
back
the
and
first commercially released any version of Dope
Yeah.
Smoker. Their own version, Jerusalem, a year before, was on CDRs that they'd burnt and done slips with. Nothing, and they just did it by mail.
You've got the little cross tattoo, haven't you, with the pinned weed
That's one of my
leaf?
tats. Is the crucifix with the weed leaf on it, and that is rare. It does even that doesn't sound as good. as
Annoys me. I
Jerusalem.
need that. I get clammy palms thinking because I can't get hold of that bastard.
That's the same way I got into High on Fire. Pike released a
What was the demo
3-tracker.
you had?
This is it.
This is when I was living with him.
3-tracker.
I was living with Gus when that came.
Still, oh, well, yeah. I
But
remember
you were hanging
hearing
out with
it.
us.
Yeah.
So after Sleep, blah 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 blah, he
I
puts
still
his
think
band
that's their
together, and he
best release,
basically does this 3-track EP, which he calls 13th Elevator Records. Again, no barcode,
Blood
mail order,
from
hardly any
Zion.
of them.
Yeah.
Blood from Zion, 10,000,
10,000, yeah.
Master at Fist, and 10. I know.
100 whatever
100
it
is
is.
Master of Fists,
Yeah.
right? Now those tracks are now on the
Still there.
standard
Damn, they're
Southern
songs.
Lord of Art of Self-Defense. Those tracks are now on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've got the original CD, and I just remember when Blood from Zion kicked it on there, which is so much cleaner and not as dirty as the Billy Anderson version.
Is
And
that
I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't understand. This is Matt Pike, and that riff. And when literally a
Still
month
their
later,
best
we saw
songs.
that video. TVI 76,
Which I've
whatever
still
it was,
got,
TVI 2,
VH
whatever it was,
VHS, yeah.
And one of the things on there was this new band from the guy from Sleep. They were playing that tiny little pub sort of bar thing up on that little riser. Him, Des Kensel, and George Rice. And we were
And it's the
stunned
first
by
time
that.
I've ever seen
And we were stunned by the
a
riff. As
player.
he was going,
Yeah.
like one strum, but
Yeah.
about 4 movements of the hands. And you were like,
It's the first time I've sort of seen that.
and we were stunned by this guy who was out the back just going on about Slayer and Motorhead. I've done something that's basically Slayer and Motorhead. And he did.
We've digressed massively, but that's a good thing.
It was amazing.
What's left on? I've only got
One thing to talk about.
3. I'll blast through these really quickly though. So number 9 was that band Zetra.
I
not
don't
your
get
bag,
it.
baby, is
They
it?
got the Sepultura logo, haven't they? They've
Yeah,
used the
the early
Sepultura
one.
font.
Yeah.
Again, they've got a whole article.
You might like it, but you would.
See, I
with your
love
eight- your
Typo.
80s pop sensibility.
I love Typo, but
Yeah,
I
we
find them a
just
bit nonsense.
What?
Not typo, Vectra.
Sorry, I thought.
Yeah.
For a second,
Pete
I
Steele.
did you just
Oh
say
my
typo?
beautiful Pete.
Fucking-
No. Alright, Pete.
61 this week.
It was. Can I just say,
Fucking-
right? Typo very quickly because it is.
Okay, sorry.
But
Yeah.
typo for me is a very recent love, like last couple of years. But fucking how I wasn't in. Well, I probably know why, but why I wasn't into them at the time, I never know. Because now I'm like, oh. Anyway,
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I was one of them lucky people who got caught.
I never
up
got the
on bloody
vocals
kisses.
and that. Yeah.
And
Well,
so
I got-
obviously I'm waiting for October Rust to come out. I saw them on the October Rust tour lineup. Stuck Mojo,
Oh
the
yeah.
hard rapper metalers,
Yeah.
Entombed, and Typo Negative.
R.I.P. Petrov.
Yeah.
Fucking.
And no kidding, man. You went. It was just insane. It was madness, and Typo Negative were monstrous.
Yeah.
And it's the catalogue after that little Imperial phase, that the deeper catalogue as it goes further along, those last few records.
Mate, World
just-
Coming
they're
Down.
just incredible.
There's still
Fucking
another couple
unreal.
of records, isn't there? Which
Yeah.
but Zetra for me
Yeah.
have that a little bit of early typo in it. It's
I
just
think-
caught my imagination, but actually they've done a couple of other singles and that this year, which I'm much less into, and I don't know why. I think it's because it's a bit more not accessible, but there's there's something about this release that's really like stayed up there for me. And again, I think it's only 4 or 5 tracks, like an EP.
It's got rated quite highly, like
Yeah.
in terms of acclaim this year.
Yeah.
My only issue is that again that element of I want a fuller sound live. I want more people on stage, and with
Nice.
Typo, you've got that full
Gargantuan
fucking band,
fucking-
gargantuan, and that's what I sometimes
combo
miss with
musicians
these
as well.
smaller combo bands. Where
Fair.
I mean, it's nothing against again music that I couldn't write, and I'm amazed at anybody who writes and does anything musically. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't really get it.
Fair play.
But I read an article about them. They seem like they deserve the acclaim,
Yeah.
but it's just they're not gonna
Not your bag, baby.
get on my list. But where are
So
they
that
on
was
yours?
Zetra, number 9.
Nice.
The only other one I haven't mentioned is a band called No Pressure, in at 3.
But that's just crushing.
You've put us.
brutal
You've
hardcore.
tried to get us to listen. I don't think I listened
Hey, is this
to
the one
No
with the
Pressure.
pop, the really pop centre?
Oh God, yeah, you played. Yes.
Yes.
They're,
No,
a, pop,
no, I
they're a
remember.
pop punk band.
They
They
are.
are, yeah.
And if you go on YouTube, which the missus knows I will always be on watching this band, like on record, it's like the most sort of Blink 182 polished sounding record, but live, they play on all these US hardcore shows. So I would urge anyone to listen to the record, but also watch footage of them live.
Yeah.
Because as a live band, it's almost like night and day. Because at these live shows, kids are going off and singing every word, just constant stage diving. Like the shows are like really going off, but on record it's this incredible polished pop punk.
Yeah.
But live it's something a little bit.
I think we were
a little
both
bit
kind
edgier.
of into it when you played it, if I
Yeah,
remember,
man,
Yeah, I think we
because
both put the thumbs up for that one.
yeah, we
But
did.
the singer sings in a much bigger band. It's the band that's supporting Blink 182 on these UK shows, and I can't remember for the life of me what they're called.
Oh,
What are they called? But this is like his hardcore band. If
I
you
didn't know
like.
that was him.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Hang on, I might be able to, while I'm waffling,
Not
work,
Conan, is it? They
work it out.
Don't start with Conan, Jesus.
Oh, fucking.
I can't stand that band.
What are they called?
Dang
Oh,
I remember seeing Conan like 2 or 3 times inadvertently, and the last time was the Sleep show. Did you go with me?
No.
And Rolo and
No,
Ben and
I
everybody
didn't
like
go
that.
to the actual stand.
We all went to a Sleep show in London, and Conan were playing. And I thought we'd given it long enough to miss Conan's set, and I turn up and I'd only just started, and it made me so angry. And
I've shared
everybody-
the stage with them twice.
You have, and I just
I don't care who I slag off anymore. It doesn't
Oh,
matter, does
I
it?
don't- yeah,
Fuck, like just
fucking-
not my shit. You know, whatever. I'm trying to find this band. What?
Brothers to Charger.
It's not.
oh, they were Fuzz Bastard EP.
God made man in the image of his ass.
Yeah.
What a fucking that record, the cover, the white dotted circle on it.
Was that Confessions of?
Might be Man Something to Live Amongst Beasts or something.
Yeah.
They were great.
Charger were a good band.
Great band.
Fucking right. I can't think what they're called, but anyway,
Jesus.
it's that's in at number 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, in between all this, you know,
You've
death
missed out your
death black metal and
hardcore and
hardcore.
extreme.
There's this cool like pop punk band which I quite like. I can't think what they're called. It's not Saves the Day, but I can't think what.
Stick to Your Guns.
Nah. But anyway, the
Straight
singer's in
from
a
the
much bigger band.
No
like,
idea.
I don't mean big,
No,
but
no.
they're like
within the scene.
massively. But anyway, it's great. Halas at number 2.
There he is.
There it is.
I won't waffle on.
Please do.
I loved this band. The record before the newest one is when I got into them, and I just moved into Lyle Road, and I remember a mate of mine, which is Canal from Art of Burning Water.
Yeah.
Big up.
Superfly Records.
Yes. So back when I was on Facebook,
Chaos Theory as well. That's the other one, isn't it? It's Chaos Theory.
That's another Canal.
Oh, that's Canal
two
single.
different Canals.
Big shout out to 2 amazing Canals.
2 amazing Canals.
Yeah.
And like, especially like the London scene
Yeah.
and stuff. You remember Art of Burning Water from like old Capricorns and Taint shows and that. And occasionally on social media I would go, look, I need some new music to listen to. What should I listen to? And the person that would always pop off is Canal and Michael Tripanel.
Yeah, from
fucking
Dark
Dark
Shaft.
Shaft. Right?
Dark Shaft.
2 absolutely legendary
Dark Shaft
UK
were
bands.
great.
Yeah. So big up Tripanel. You knew him before I'd met him.
Only through them coming to Colchester and doing that flyer for them and Let's Talk Daggers.
Nice.
And he was obviously it was just an incredible writer, Trippinell, isn't he?
Mad
Like the way he
guitarist as
plays,
well.
and he's a good drummer too. And like, anyway, we digress. What a ledge.
So they both told me to listen to this Halas band, and because they know I love my prog and all that as well. Long story short, so I gave it a listen, and even I was like, oh, it's a bit, like, I don't know, I just wasn't sure about it. And I remember there was one day, about 4th or 5th, 6th, almost forced listen throughs, and I was painting my garden wall, and there was I don't know whether I was chilled out or what, but there was a certain run through while I was doing this painting. I was like, fuck me, that is the best thing I've heard for a long time. And since then, mate, this band has taken over my life.
Advocate for Halas.
Yeah.
Like,
so their newest one is in there. It's like that and End It are my favourite records, because they're impossible to compare because they're so different.
Depending on your mood, you might.
100%.
Yeah, I know that you Halas sit up there with you with that love that we've got for bands like Witchcraft and stuff like that.
Massively.
Halas are like tattoo worthy for you now. You
They
are a
are.
fanboy.
Fully.
You adore them.
You have some of their music purchased on the fine cassette format.
Yeah,
and
I've got both. The
Yeah.
Mrs. Harvey doesn't know I've bought the other cassette yet, so that's a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, she might
notice it on the shelf.
She may or may not notice a second Halas cassette on the shelf.
Who
You
knows?
should display them with pride, you see. Mine
Yeah.
hidden.
I shall update you as to when that is. It's the end of the evening.
It is the end of the evening. As Chris was about to say,
There were some things in the top tens that, you didn't touch on any of your hip hop because it's not really what we get into and what we talk about. I had a number of albums not breaking the 10 that were bands making big comebacks or albums after a number of years. You wanted the magic and occasionally you got it perfectly, but at other times it's just been too long and it's not up to spec.
Yeah.
we'll look at the Mars Volta for example.
A few of them
you
break
know,
it for me.
Right.
that's I've got a list.
Dregs.
I've got a list, as you know, of 32 albums for the entire year. I didn't have to do 32, but they started just forming in an order. And that Mars Volta album, I gave like 2 out of 10. It's right at the bottom because it's just the Omar Rodriguez show.
Yeah.
It's they've tried to do what they class as like their pop album, but I think that's a cop out.
Yeah.
Personally. Like, fair play to them for like coming back with a new album, but you can't call what they've brought out the Mars Volta when you go from Nocturnique all the way back to Deloused. you've got a formulaic prog element there.
Well, it's a
But
rock band.
It's a rock band that have pivoted now. And what I do like is their set lists at the moment. It's amazing what they're doing in the States with loads of the D. Loused and Francis the Mute and everything.
Because that would be a kick in the balls, wouldn't it, if they just toured new material? That would be a real...
Like,
people would probably just stop going to the shows after a while, though, wouldn't they?
You wouldn't put it past Victor and Robbie's to do
you wouldn't,
like that. However,
and Pixies Doggerel, like I don't know if you gave it a listen,
give it a go.
Doggerel or whatever. It's okay. That's all I can say about it. It's okay.
I had that with a band I loved from the 90s called the Afghan Wigs.
They've
always put great records out.
Bully.
The opening track on the album is sensational, but it doesn't hold up for the other 9 tracks. Another one for me, you two don't like this band much, but this is the legendary King's X. First album in 15 years. No beef. They've just been doing all their own solo work, good friends, still touring to make their money, but no desire to make a record. They got back together, 3 sides of one, telling you that it's supposed to be a proper King's X record. The problem now is after all these years, they are so identifiable by what they've done in their solo careers that now you listen to an old King's X album and you can pick elements of songs out. That's Doug's bits, that's Ty's bits, that's Jerry's bit, but it coalesces.
Yeah.
Now it was like, that's a Ty Tabor song, that's a Doug Pinnick song.
Okay.
There was only a couple on there where you felt the 3 of them come
lost
together, and it was King's X. And none of it was bad, but it was too identifiable. So again, a band I would guarantee when that came out that would hit the 10, because I've loved them since the first record in like '88. And they do not get any respect. I've read their autobiography, right, and they're a bit like Tad and some of those other bands who just never got the break. But with King's X, it was like magazine covers after album 1. Kerrang ranked the first 5 albums, 5Ks.
Loads of samplers.
Woodstock, but they could not commercially break through for shit. Just couldn't do it.
See, I'm going to upset you, and that's because they aren't good enough to cut through, if I'm brutally honest. First King's X sort of couple of releases have got the continuity there, but for me, they're just not my band. I never get them.
And I think that
there's always an ongoing joke when I mention King's X with you. It's just like.
But I think that you're the representation there of why they never broke through.
Yeah.
It just didn't appeal to enough people.
Yeah.
In their autobiography, they eventually realised it didn't. We're just in this niche enough where if we can tour, we can sustain it with outside projects. Tabor's got his own studio, does solo work and also production, and then Jerry Gaskill does whatever, and Pinnick, obviously everyone wants Doug Pinnick to sing on their records. I think his solo work.
I don't know who the fucking guy is, so I wouldn't be able to.
So Doug Pinnick singing, he's like the thing is he's got
too much King's X.
He's got a great black soulful voice, and everyone wants him to sing on their records. His career is insane.
Who is he?
I've just told you.
Yeah, but you
won't have heard any.
We're proving Chris's point perfectly that we're just not even open to it.
Nothing that you will.
Which is crazy because he knows a lot of shit.
The closest thing you'd know is
a
band called KXM that's got Ray Lewis here in it.
Yeah.
And George Lynch as well from Dockett. And he did an amazing project with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam.
Right, okay. That's cool.
It's got the pedigree.
Listen, respect.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It didn't make the top 10.
Didn't make it
because it wasn't what it was.
I can't think of any other close ones.
I've had a few misses like that. Just like God.
It's a mega year though. I normally come out with 5 or 6 albums a year.
Yeah.
I could probably do definitely a 15, 18,
maybe
possibly a 20.
And for you, that's
if I was scrabbling for records that, like a couple of tracks on Big Time. Or
last year, you barely could scrape up enthusiasm for 5 records.
Totally, it's been incredible.
We haven't talked about our equal
year.
appreciation for the Dark Throne album Astral Fortress.
Totally. All 3 of us.
Which could have been in the top 10 if there weren't so many records this year.
I don't think I had enough
what an
time
album
to
that
lose
is!
myself in it.
What as you said, what a return to form.
Incredible.
Great album.
It's absolutely incredible that they're still producing records you could put in a top 5 of theirs potentially at this level now.
We did a Dark Throne ranking, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
You did, because I don't switch on until they get more questions.
Can we have a look?
Just quickly before we sign off. And we will get to Slayer next time, but there was too
I
much.
think before
this
like
year to
Alcest
get on.
had come out and that Green What's It band had
Green
come
King.
out, Dark Phone probably would have been in at least a couple of ours
Would have
top
been
10 for a little while.
12th. So we did the entire Dark Throne back cat for 20 records. You know, and an Astral Fortress coming at 12th for me.
Mine was 10.
Yeah.
Is it hit top 10?
Yeah.
It might. I mean, it might deserve
Number 10.
it might deserve a boost up. But yeah, like, what was your number? What was your top 3? We'll just chuck them out there.
Under a Funeral Moon. Panzerfaust.
Panzerfaust, number 5 for
I
me.
hate them in at 3.
So Hate Them was 3 for me.
Yeah.
Under a Funeral Moon, disgustingly for you, was 14th in my list.
The early shit.
Panzerfaust was top 5.
Nice.
But my top
Nice.
3 were Sardonic Wrath, Ravishing Grimness, and Hate Them.
Yeah.
And then my real love, Dark Thrones and Black Flags, which I like more than FOAD. Which is
was
a
a big
big
album for us at the
statement,
time,
because that was
wasn't
a
it?
big album.
That's
2007, what
That's
year?
where you got me into Dark Throne.
It's because we were all hanging out.
Yeah.
2007.
I was
Brothers.
all around that
Yeah,
early
Skids.
black metal phase,
Skids.
but it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And so Dark Throne was just lumped in with that lot. Appreciate it, can listen to it, but don't get into it. It was fun when you guys sold me on that. I was like, but I still never went back to the early stuff. I don't get into them till they become more metal, more punk, and far less
Yeah,
black.
yeah.
So it's probably only like maybe the
You're
last
not a
8
big
or 10
black
albums.
guy, are you?
Not particularly.
No, more
appreciate
definitely.
it
Yeah.
and understand it, and I've listened to it,
Yeah.
but I'm not really into it.
Yeah, yeah.
If anything, I'm a horrible hipster black metal fan because I like a bit of Wolves in
Yeah,
the Throne
man.
Room and stuff
Nothing
like
wrong
that.
with
cool.
You know what I mean?
Nothing
Yeah,
But
wrong
I
with
could
that.
give you the history of what happened
And
and
you-
who was in it and why it was important,
Of
and they're
course.
great records, but I just don't overly dig
Of
it. And I
course.
can't figure out what it is about it that I don't.
Well, that was me in death metal for years. Until I've really, only the last 2 or 3 years have I...
Obituary,
I'm
death.
back-
That's
big
where I
old
was.
I've never been a
fucking-
death metal
That's where I was. I was all over the death metal,
last
not the
2
black metal.
years, like I've, totally
Always the
understood
death
it
metal.
all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And the really out there death metal as well.
Fucking right.
Yeah, bands like Massacre that don't get the justice.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
associated, and Vader and people
See,
like
I don't
that.
go- yeah.
Morgoth.
That's why I like that Hath band, because Hath had loads of bits in there that you could have thought that Chuck would have written.
Yes.
There's loads of it in
Yes.
there.
See, again, he's been put on a
Defo.
pedestal very post, but people still think of like fucking Cannibal Corpse and all the obvious death metal bands. You
Yeah.
know, the real key ones, which are fine. But I always like, and Morbid Angel and stuff like that. But I
See,
always
even
tended
that,
to go away from that.
Yeah.
See, Morbid Angel's a strange one because I do love them, but my album's one of most people's least favourites, which is Gateways to Annihilation.
Yeah.
Because of the production,
Yeah.
because of the fact that they were shedding some of those roots and
Is that,
trying
is
to.
that Tucker's first album, or is that a bit later on even? Is that
so
the one
the
with the
Gateways
different,
or the
different
one
singer?
He does come in. Dave Vincent does leave, but it's not for a long while.
Yeah. Who
They were
knows?
shedding those Scott Burnsy Florida death metal.
Yeah, they
roots,
were.
and they were moving away from it.
They were going more into the chugging of a riff and like fucking I love that Gateways to Annihilation.
Maybe we should do a extreme metal
Episode.
couple of sessions.
Touch on some righteous stuff.
So 2022
So 2022 's in
rounded
the
up by
bag.
the PDE Massive.